Welcome everyone from all over the world, whether it's good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is a webinar about the Rights for Time funding call, explaining details for those who want to apply to the funding for proposals into humanitarian protection. This is a Rights for Time network, which is a network of practitioners and scholars from all over the world working together to explore and learn about humanitarian protection in societies that have been affected by violence and trauma. Today, we have with us our panelists, the Rights for Time investigator, Heather Flo, who is a professor of psychology at the University of Birmingham, and a PI Rights for Time, as well as Ben Warwick, associate professor of law at the University of Birmingham. They will explain to us in detail how to apply to these funding projects so that you can all apply, and we welcome you to get your questions in place if you want to ask later or email us later. Over to you.
Thanks, Rana. So we'll start by discussing what the call is. So we are a Network Plus, GCRF Network Plus, which means that there's part of our network is the overarching aspect, the bit that we've been involved in already in terms of setting up proof of concept and supporting those crossovers between different areas. And in this part that we're launching today is the call for commission projects. So we're looking for lots of individual organizations to join the network and to be funded through the network. So we're looking for proposals that support research, learning, development, all around these our core themes of humanitarian protection in societies that are affected by violence and trauma. We're interested in projects that are community-based, that engage with grassroots and different in a variety of different societies. So we're looking for a broader range of different types of situation, context, geography as possible. And we're interested in projects that deal, yes, with the violence and trauma of humanitarian issues and humanitarian protection, but we're also interested in projects that can explore how time affects those different types of violence and trauma, and how temporality stretches, compresses those experiences of trauma, etc. So just to give you a flavor of some of the examples that we've got as funded projects already. The first is entitled Hiding Time. So this is based in Jordan. And as with all of these, what we've done is tried to learn the lessons from one context and apply them where appropriate to other contexts as well. So there's based in Jordan, a lot of the lessons that we've learned, we've been able to see how they might fit or tell us something about other contexts too. So this project brings together the learning and understanding of intergenerational trauma, how trauma stretches over time, and how we can see the echoes of trauma through time and through generations. Really, really interesting and engaged with a lot of different types of trauma and different types of understandings of trauma too. The next example we have is based in Kenya. And it works very closely with survivors of sexual violence to understand and collect their evidence and their testimony around their experience of violence and trauma, to preserve it and to preserve the memory of their trauma so that it could be returned to at a later date without re-traumatizing, and so that time and the distorting effects of time don't play into that evidence collection in too significant a fashion. So it's a really interesting one that engages, again, with lots of community organizations or lots of communities in Kenya. Next example is based in Lebanon. And it's particularly interested in how time infiltrates policy and how that then collectively impacts refugee communities, and how often refugee crises are responded to in a very individual fashion, lots of separate refugee crises, whereas actually with a bit more understanding of the implications of time through policy, we'd be able to preempt them a little better and understand the medium and long-term needs of refugees through each successive crisis that comes along. And finally, the last example I have for you is around surfacing time. So this is Rwanda-based, and this is all of our projects have an arts, humanities-led aspect to them, a creative aspect. And Rwanda, the Rwandan case study is certainly one of the more creative ones. So it explores the story of the Batwa people and their the violence against them, and it explores them that story and that trauma in particular through participatory photography. So using photography, exploring the geography and the communities and the stories of individuals through their own photographs. And it's hugely enlightening and interesting for that. Heather, are you able to pick up here?
Yes, thanks, Ben. In order to be eligible for funding and receive one of our awards, the applicants have to be based in an ODA country. And what this is the Economic Official Development Assistance list of countries that are listed on our website. So please go to where the project call is and locate that list of countries. And so people who are living in that country or countries, and it has to be for the benefit of the people in terms of humanitarian protection, but also with regard to their economic and social development. The AHRC, which is the funder that is behind all of this great work that we're able to conduct, requires that there's also some UK involvement in all of the projects that we fund. And the way in which we are actioning this as part of this call is for the awardee to participate in our digital mentorship program. What this entails is monthly or bi-monthly meetings with other projects, other awardees, and Rights for Time investigators and partners. This is to allow us to share learning across projects and to answer any questions or any difficulties conducting the research, and also to share your findings with us so that we could help disseminate the findings and raise the profile of your organization. Next slide, please. It's the case that the research that's being carried out, again, it has to be in a low and middle income country that is on the ODA recipient list. The PI also has to be based primarily in that country, and the work has to be conducted in that country or countries if it's the case that you are going to be conducting research across multiple DAC list countries. We also have to ensure, as per the AHRC, that the host organization for the project, which again is in one of these DAC list countries, is able to oversee the project. And this is regardless of whether the organization is large or small, we need to be able to ensure that all of the requirements are carried out for funding. You can see our website for further details about the different checks that will be carried out by us before funding is awarded. Next slide.
So the sorts of things that we're looking to fund are projects that are up to 9 months in duration, and that 9 months would run from December 2022 to December 2023. Where projects are shorter, where you would like them to be a shorter timeline, then it still needs to end by December 2023 when all projects need to have completed. The grants be used for any form of research or research development related activity. And we're really keen that you get your creative juices flowing and you get your thinking caps on. We from the very beginning, we've been adamant that we want to be as creative as possible, really engage with the richness that arts and humanities can bring to this sort of research. I've already mentioned around photography. We have other forms of art and understanding of different ways of exploring these problems, and we think that's really important to unlock some of the complexities of the problems. So please be creative. And of course, as with every project, there have to be some form of dissemination of your findings. So we're looking for, not just the research to be put on the shelf, but actually to go out there into the world and help communities and benefit them. In terms of things that we're not able to fund, things that don't contain that new research or new development of some sort of research methodology or pedagogy. So we're not able to fund day-to-day expenses or running of an organization, that sort of thing. We're not able to fund scholarships for study, so undergraduate or postgraduate study. And we're predominantly interested in funding people and communities and research related there too. And so the equipment costs have to be relatively limited. We're going to come on to talk a bit about host organizations, hopefully relatively briefly, so that you can see the information just on the website. But it is key, I think, just to say at this point that we need a host organization. And you'll see from the quick look that we take in a second that there are certain requirements upon the organization that require that sort of host. So Heather, can I pass you here?
Great, thank you. Next slide, please. The organizations that apply for funding need to be able to demonstrate a number of different financial criteria. And these include to have the in-house capacity with regard to staff and infrastructure to support the conduct of research and safeguarding, importantly. We also need to ensure that our projects provide evidence of a commitment to maximizing wider impact and the value of the research for people in local communities. One of the key aspirations that we have as a network is to make sure individuals, families, communities, people on the ground are recipients of the research findings, all of which relate to humanitarian protection. We also need to ensure that our findings are accessible. And so all of our research projects have to be published in an open access format. And this could be in English or in any language, actually. So it doesn't have to be in English. That's not a requirement of ours. But what is required is to ensure that our findings aren't hidden behind a paywall. And this is something that we can assist with as a network with respect to paying for any kind of journal fees, for instance, that are associated with publishing in open access journals. So that's something that we can pay for as a network. The organization also has to have sufficient capacity to deliver the research and the outputs that are promised in the funding application. And as Ben mentioned, we have to ensure that the research that's produced relates to the themes and the wider ambitions of the Rights for Time Research Network, all of which are specified on our website, as well as in the call documents. We also have to make sure that the organizations demonstrate an ability and a commitment to provide appropriate leadership and support to those staff who are involved with funded research activity. So we want our projects to provide leadership and guidance to build the capacity of people to be able to engage with research, to be able to use those research findings to advocate for change and to become and maintain research leadership in their country and research areas of focus. Next slide.
Yes. So in sum, I think just to the two heads that I think Heather has explored for us, and I'm not going to repeat, there has to be an amount of governance and control within the organization. It's got to be clear that the organization has policies and clear structures. And the second main head, which Heather has alluded to, is around financial processes and stability and the ability to disperse the money and distribute the money appropriately. I've skimmed through those last two slides very quickly, but again, all of the information is on the website and you can go through it in your own time. So the bit that you're maybe most interested in is the requirements in terms of budget and criteria. So in terms of budget, we're looking for at least 70% being based in a DAC list country or expended through a DAC list country, and that fits with what Heather said at the beginning. The budget has to be in Great British pounds. Obviously, you can construct it whatever way you want, but it needs converted across so that we can compare it and approve it. And most of those costs will have to be spent on things other than equipment. Organization, people, etc. Make sure that you keep a broad view of what's going in that budget. So make sure you include everything that needs to be included. So if that includes translation costs, and make sure all of that gets bundled in. This has to be a kind of comprehensive budget in that respect. We're not able to add on extra things afterwards. And then in terms of the criteria that we're looking for, hopefully we've covered all of these, and none of these come as a surprise to you at this point. But we've tried to fit the criteria very much with our aims and objectives as a network as a whole. So you'll see that we're looking for projects that we're commissioning to fit with our aims and our interests. So thinking about humanitarian protection, thinking about the long times of trauma and violence. We're looking for something interesting, new, innovative, something that adds to knowledge and practice around humanitarian protection. We're looking, as we've discussed in terms of the organization and governance stuff, we're looking for it to be deliverable so that the team has the experience and the skills, that there's an appropriate approach, and it's going to take place within a reasonable time frame. It's not over ambitious, and that also there's appropriate outputs that are going to be produced from the project as well. So hopefully all of those criteria make sense in light of what we've outlined so far. And again, they're all on the website. And if you have questions, you're very willing to reach out. You're very welcome to reach out, rather. And final thing, the deadline for applications is the 1st of September 2022. And at that point, we will bring them all together and assess them, and hopefully be able to approve lots of your amazing ideas and amazing projects. September 1st hopefully gives you plenty of time to put the application together, to think it through, and to explore it with anyone you might want to bring as part of your team or part of your partnership. So hopefully that's all clear. Heather, have you got anything to add that I've missed?
No, that's super, Ben. Thank you.
Okay, in that case, I'll hand back to Rana.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing all the details of the application and the proposal. We invite everybody from all over the world, from different walks of life. As you have seen, we are looking for creativity, outside of the box ideas, and most importantly, we want people from the grassroots, from the community, to lead on this, because we want to create a true network that represents everybody, so that we can make a difference around the world. And the only way we can make a difference is by working together. And that's why we are welcoming your proposals that will explore how communities can set their own agendas for engaging with the past and present to build more hopeful and secure futures, including through social movements, resistance, and creativity, and anything else. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. There will be a link under this recording for you to go to our website to get more details if you want, and an email that you can contact. And again, I urge you can reach out to us in any language you want. We will try to provide the answers that you will need so that you can join us and we can work all together to make this world a better place. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and take care.